Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of our podcast, Talent First. Today, we have someone who's a lot of people have recommended us to her and to us the same. At least I would say 10 or 12 people have told me to call her for our podcast, and I'm very happy she's obliged. So, hi, Supria. Hi, how are you?
Lovely. Happy to meet you, Raghav.
Supriya, the way we start is we ask for elevator pitch. तो आप अपनी elevator pitch बताओ और हिंदी इंग्लिश दोनों में बताना.
Okay, so Supria here. Part of the life has been into corporate, which was all about, I would say, the capitalist view of I, me, myself. What profit am I making? How much money am I making? And that was brilliant. The other part has been about being a social entrepreneur. Started a journey before, left it, and now I'm happy to be back here again.
Right.
So I think here is what you see is a mix of I, me, myself, and then the world at large. And I think I'm enjoying traveling between the both worlds.
So now let's see कहाँ से start हुई journey. आप थोड़ा फैमिली के बारे में बताना अपनी. एंड स्कूल में एज अ स्टूडेंट मैंने सुना आप एक थोड़ी मतलब नर्ड टाइप की थी. मतलब व्हाट वाज दैट अबाउट? अभी लगता नहीं बात करके आप थी नर्ड.
I hope नहीं लगेगा, but if you ask my mom will say पढ़ाई के आगे भी कुछ है.
हाँ.
इनफैक्ट जब घर में शादी की बात होती है तो मॉम यूज्ड टू से आप अपना बिस्तरा, ये जो हम पंजाबी में इसको मंजा बोलते हैं, आप ये साथ में लेकर जाएंगे क्या? सो आई एम completely against dowry, but my dowry would have been my one flat single bed. A little bit nervous, geeky, not in the external world of events. Fairly tomboyish. So if you ask me, my favorite sport, that would be गिल्ली डंडा, marbles, cricket. Me and my brother, 11 लोग बना दिए cricket में. उन्होंने भी 11, मेरे भी 11. India versus Pakistan, great. Australia, great. And my deal used to be, I'll play cricket and I'd love to bat and bowl both. Fielding, not so much. और उसके बाद आप मेरे साथ स्क्रैबल खेलेंगे, मोनोपोली खेलेंगे.
तो आप बुली थी बचपन में, थोड़ी बुली टाइप की थी आप.
अभी भी ऐसी हूँ.
नहीं. So where were you born?
I was born in a place called Basi Patana, which is near Chandigarh. It's a town. And बुली का बात है होनहार बिरवान के हो चीखने पात. जो बचपन में जो बच्चे ने बड़े होकर बढ़ना है उसको बचपन में ही सीन दिख जाता है.
Right.
So yeah, you're talking to a benevolent bully.
So now let's talk about from a schooling part, right? You were a commerce, science. What did you have in school?
So I was a medical student.
Really?
Yeah. So I could cut without spilling blood.
Frog and all that.
Yeah, frog without spilling blood. I would take intestines out of a rat and put it in a bottle of formaldehyde solution, bring it home and put it on the dining table. I think I loved being on the rebel side.
Right,
so if mom says don't do it, the perfect kid at home is someone who will do it. That's me. So rebel, an introverted rebel. So I think I was rebelling from within. But geeky, yes, medical student, scored 99% in biology. Equally loved math. So I was an interesting combination of bio and math. Sat for the medical exam, but पहला एग्जाम देने के बाद I was like, ये नहीं बनना. Doctor, जिंदगी, and like I said, right, a large part of my initial life is about I, me, myself. वो सर्विस का भाव नहीं था. बहुत देर से आया है. So I think that is it. Then the degree was in mathematics honors.
From?
St. Stephen's College.
Nice.
Yeah, so math honors, which is great. 1 year I did masters mathematics also, which I usually don't talk about because I believe that wasn't such a great story. And then in between लगा ये नहीं करना. So as much as you will meet people who will say I started and बचपन से मुझे पता था मुझे मिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी बनना है, मुझे ऐसा कोई ख्याल नहीं था मुझे बचपन से क्या बनना है. And but then started, then went to Goa Institute of Management, GIM. And
बड़ा मजा किया आपने.
हाँ, so Goa का, yeah, thank you so much Raghav. Corporate में story अलग थी, but today there's no corporate. It was a great journey, I enjoyed. So I did HR and marketing. Marketing major, HR minor था. And G came on campus. Lo and behold, G सिर्फ XLRITIS में जाती थी. But that year they decided to experiment new. Talent first. Talent is not, only born in these great institutes. Talent can be anywhere. And someone decided to take a bet. Came to GIM and I was hired and have never looked back.
So this was which year?
98.
98.
Old, sorry.
No. So उस टाइम पे if I'm not wrong, G, Amex, 2-4 ही GCCs type आए थे इंडिया में.
Yeah.
And people were, आपके घर वालों को समझ नहीं आ रहा होगा क्या है ये. मतलब I'm not. What was their thought about it?
So my dad has been a banker and brilliant. My entire family has been lawyers.
Sure.
So if someone says I talk well or I argue well or I'm very argumentative, so I don't think they have me to blame. They should look at my lineage from where I come from. Argument is part of our daily life. That's part of our bloodline. All our lawyers. So I think, even I didn't sit for the G presentation when I was there at the campus. But then when the process started rolling, they're like, aa jao.
तो चले गए.
So आ गए. So when I go to campus and I take sessions and लोग थोड़े भूले भटके होते हैं, तो आई एम द फर्स्ट वन टू से भाई चिल करो, डोंट थिंक कॉर्पोरेट गेस्ट आया है, यू नो ये सब करना है. As long as you are there 15% of the 45 minutes में 15 मिनट सुन लिया बहुत है. Because when I was younger and naive and more experimental, तब हमने भी उतना ही सुना था और फिर भी जिंदगी बन गई. So no point taking it so seriously.
So now you get into G, right?
I get into G.
HR type of role.
Yeah, so my interview was about marketing, but Manav Bose, who was the HR head of GE, all 12 businesses, decided to say, आप global एक HRLP program होता है. G used to have 4, HR, IMLP, finance and you know Edison engineering. And he said, आप HR में आ जाओ, you'll be brilliant. I have no idea what he saw in me. So the other point is trust others when they see something more in you than you know beyond what you can see. I trust easy. So like चलो
चलते हैं.
ये भी करते हैं और risk taking बहुत ही high है, तब भी था आज भी है. So like चलो ये करते हैं. And it's been wonderful. It's been a great career. I think I lasted in it longer than I should have.
So how long were you in G?
G, I was 7 years.
Oh, 7 years.
7 years. I
And
started.
if I'm not wrong, उस टाइम पे काफी नए कैप्टिव्स खुल रहे थे. So people from G were a good poaching ground.
They were.
तो आपके काफी कलीग्स मूव कर रहे होंगे ना, आपको कभी फोमो नहीं हुआ कि यार इनको अच्छी सैलरीज मिल रही हैं, मैं स्टक हूँ, इनको 300-250% इंक्रीमेंट मिल रहा है, मुझे 20 पॉइंट देने में भी शर्माते हैं लोग. मतलब आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग टू थिंक, राइट, व्हाट मेड यू स्टे?
Women are very loyal employees.
Good plug-in.
So to all you out there, bet on women. I'm not saying don't bet on men, but यार थोड़ा women को भी hire कर लोगे तो तुम्हारा क्या कट जाएगा. Hire women, they are loyal, they stay longer. But I'm not saying they stayed for stupid reasons.
Right.
They just don't hop across as often probably a young, you know, male would. That's my view. I could be dated Gen X view. So I'm apologizing in advance if I've hurt a woman, millennial or a Gen X sentiment. But that was one. So I don't think I was looking around. Offer bhi aati thi. G was giving us everything. Our tagline was, why join other companies? Join G and you join many companies. You don't have to hop.
It's a conglomerate.
I've been with G Corporate, I've been with G Medical Systems. I set up global exchange services in India that even band ho gaya business. As part of the Jack Welch Technology Center as a startup team.
Okay.
I got to meet Jack Welch. I got
You
a
met
Jack
Jack
Welch.
Welch?
I met
Wow.
Jack Welch. Mr. Premji was there when we inaugurated the Jack Welch Technology
Wow.
Center. I met Jack Welch. I still treasure that picture.
Wow.
And I got Jack Welch Award as being part of the startup team. So there's no reason. So I think the message is if you look after your people well and you treat them well and you give them large, big assignments, meaty assignments, वो क्यों कहीं और जाएंगे?
नहीं, बट आजकल कई लोगों से वी टॉक टू देम एंड दे टेल अस कि इन द अर्ली पार्ट ऑफ योर करियर दे फील दैट थोड़ा सा ना मूव भी करना चाहिए, वरना हम रिस्ट्रिक्ट हो जाते हैं. तो कभी आपको लगा कि 7 साल आप जी में रही और वो आपका एक तरह से आप बहुत यंग थी उस टाइम पे, राइट? तो उस टाइम पे क्या होता है कि मतलब 20-22 साल की थी यार, अब कम ऑन लाइक उसको आप यू नो व्हाट आई मीन, राइट? नहीं ऑब्वियसली आई मीन बहुत यंग, मैं आई वाज बहुत यंग थी अब, राइट? सो नाउ अगर आपको लगता है कभी कि उस टाइम पे अगर आपने एक्सपेरिमेंट किया होता, रिस्क टेकिंग एबिलिटी ज़्यादा थी, कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज नहीं थी, घर वालों का भी प्रेशर कम हुआ कंपैरेटिवली?
था ही नहीं.
हाँ, था ही नहीं.
See, that's another thing. हम women से एक्सपेक्ट ही नहीं करते कुछ. हम जो भी करें छक्के पे छक्का. We don't tell them आप ये करो वो करो. So भाई की बहुत सारी expectations थी. He was like आप ये बनो वो बनो. Whatever I was doing was great.
हाँ, तो कभी मतलब आपको लगा नहीं कि यार उस टाइम पे मुझे ना 2-3 चीज़ें और भी कर लेनी चाहिए थी?
नहीं, आई थिंक जी में इतना किया था राघव. इन 7+ years, I've seen 9 businesses. Each business like a startup, setting up exchange services in India. Then G Medical Systems. Then of course Godrej G Appliances, Pune and Bombay. G Corporate कर दिया, Jack Welch कर दिया. Genpact last. I joined G Capital. जब वो Genpact बना तो हम उड़ गए थे. So G Capital. So for me, and they were all different industries.
Yeah, I got it.
There is medical, there is IT, there is so there was never a need. So I think what I did experience was a 7-year itch. 7 साल काफी हो गए. And G Capital, when it was bought over and it became Genpact,
बहुत सर्विसेज हो गया.
and also it didn't make sense. I've always been a more R&D person.
Yeah, I got it.
Irrespective of domain HR, but the thrill is R&D.
Right,
You deal with a knowledge worker. So BPO वाला mindset था ही नहीं कभी. So I knew it was my. And also G has this huge top 20 to top 20. अब आप 7 बार बन गए हो या 6 बार बन गए हो, चलो एक बार नहीं बने. You pretty much know the code. And once you crack the code, then there's more of the same.
So around 2005-06 आपने shift
2005.
Where did you go after that?
Joined Cranes, Indian company. So my story was G didn't know when to stop. And the way we sometimes used to run Indian companies, we didn't know when to start. So it was a huge cultural shock. but that's life.
So you
It
stayed
worked
there for
out.
how long?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. तो जो फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस था उससे थोड़ा पहले.
थोड़ा पहले.
And then फिर क्या हुआ?
Then I was like, why make someone else rich? Cranes, I worked very closely with the chairman of the board, and with the CEO, Asif Khadar, and Rudra Pratap, who's now, he's been with the ISC for a very long time, and now he's with the vice chancellor of Laksha University.
Oh, okay.
So great friend, and he was the chairman of the board. So I was like, हो गया यार. छोटी mergers, acquisitions करे, exposure हो गया. So I worked on launch side of the beyond HR and experienced tasted blood business. So like start on your own.
So I'll just make an observation here, right? And I was reading about this. So a lot of these people who have been in a corporate career, once they start working directly under the promoter, and predominantly Indian companies में ही होता है कि where you work with the promoter, that's where the entrepreneurial thing kicked in कि ये कर सकता मैं क्यों नहीं कर सकता.
Brilliant.
Right? That's what it is, right?
So I think you said it. That is exactly what it was for me. I saw the business इतने पास से, इतने close से, and we're sitting and talking deals. We're talking about stock price. I was like, ये कर सकते हैं तो मैं क्यों नहीं? But you know what? That's not all it takes. Probably that's a good trigger. वो कीड़ा आपके दिमाग में आ जाता है और आप शुरू कर देते हो. But I think what we don't see.
डेप्थ क्या है काम, पीछे क्या हो रहा है उसके,
रूट्स क्या हैं. आप ऊपर से एक छोटा सा फ्लावर देखते हो, सैपलिंग, यू गेट एक्साइटेड एंड यू थिंक आई कैन डू इट. सो यू आर राइट, इट्स अ ग्रेट ट्रिगर टू स्टार्ट. But I think it takes a lot more. It's just tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's an entire iceberg that's below and beneath that you don't see. And I think someone needs to educate us. But time and risk is a great teacher. So I think I had time and risk both on my sides. Started a firm, making India employable. Got a few partners going. The thrill was, उस ज़माने में, today I talked to some investor friends and they're like, $2 million evaluation, बहुत अच्छा है. It's great. And I'm like, हमने तो PPT में 2007 में post money $5 million की valuation ली थी. तो the world is supposed to progress and be more benevolent or better. Then why are we becoming so predatory? But that's just my view.
Okay, so now you start your own company.
Yes.
Tell us how different was it than what you expected. क्या होता है कि हम कंपनी में काम कर रहे होते हैं तो हमें लगता है कि कंपनी शुरू करने टेंशन बढ़ जाएगी या फिर बॉस होंगी मैं अपनी, किसी को जवाब नहीं देना. बट जब स्टार्ट करते हैं और पता लगता है बहुत डिफरेंट है, तो आपका क्या वो एक्सपीरियंस था?
I think the mindset. So Raghav, it's a great experience. I think those 2.5 years taught me the most. पहले आपको अपनी असलियत पता लग जाती है, जो हिंदी में बोलते हैं आप कितने पानी में हो. And I realized मेरा भी काफ़ी shallow था, ज़्यादा depth नहीं थी. A person who loves beach and seas known for his depths, I realized I was out of depth on this one. So I think that's a very honest submission and which is a great learning. So that I figured. The other part was we corporate people, we have a certain mindset. हमें एक आदत होती है, IT कोई और कर रहा है, स्ट्रैटेजी कोई और कर रहा है, फाइनेंस, और आप शायद एक पार्ट कर रहे हो. एज अ CEO, एज अ फाउंडर, यू नीड टू इंटीग्रेट एंड द सम ऑफ पार्ट्स नीड्स टू बी ग्रेटर देन द होल. वो आपको तब समझ आता है व्हेन यू आर ऑन योर ओन. सो आई थिंक दैट वाज अ ह्यूज लर्निंग, दैट आप ही अपना IT हो, आप ही अपना एडमिन हो, आप ही को अपना डेटा सिक्योर करना है, आप ही को जाके डील लानी है, आप ही को इनवॉइस रेज करना है और आप ही को सब ये करना है. आई थिंक द थ्रिल इज ब्रिलियंट. सो आई डेफिनेटली एंजॉयड बीइंग माई ओन बॉस. बट आई थिंक द कॉर्पोरेट माइंडसेट जो आज परहैप्स उतर गया है, I was still running my business with a corporate mindset. There are many reasons why we failed. I only want to look at mine. There's no point pointing fingers. So I think for me, these were two big things that you should be able to roll up your sleeves and do everything. You can't early on invest in huge talent or resource. I think be ready to do that. And the second is that there's no 9 to 5. Someone at the LinkedIn I remember got severely bullied, trolled and all for saying, early years mein, please do 24/7, kaam karo, roll up karo, and people are so sensitive these days.
Shop gaya, Shantanu.
Yeah.
Bombay shaving.
Yeah, Bombay, she was shaving, right? Bombay shaving. Yeah, so he got trolled and I was like, he said it. You have a choice to agree or disagree.
Right.
What's the point of trolling, going to his family? So I think that's a sick world we live in, unfortunately so. So for me, that was like, that's one view, but I don't think any great thing. Rome wasn't built in a day. That's our view, but I think it still holds true. So I think I worked 9 to 6. Probably there are times when we were not doing well after a year or so. I realized कि भाई ये तो Saturday, Sunday, Monday to Friday. Unless you breathe that company day in, day out, you breathe the purpose day in, day out, it's not going to work.
Right.
So yeah, some of those learnings.
Then अब आप खुद का चला चुके हो. Then वापस जाने के टाइम पे थोड़ा ईगो पे हिट नहीं हुआ कि यार अब मैं सुन नहीं पाऊंगी किसी की? ऐसा हुआ कभी? मतलब
You're saying now जब मैं वापस जा रही हूँ?
नहीं, तब की बात कर रहा हूँ.
कॉर्पोरेट में वापस आने के लिए?
कॉर्पोरेट वापस जब आप आए.
Actually the opposite. It's a great question कि अब क्या होगा. But I think entrepreneurship is so humbling. इट्स सो हम्बलिंग दैट आपका टाइटल चला जाता है, कॉर्पोरेट सैलरी चली जाती है. आई इन्वेस्टेड ऑल माई सेविंग्स, got funded, but we raised it after a year, so I invested my savings. And I'm a hoarder when I go shopping. I'm a hoarder. So अगर मैं चले जाऊँ, it's not great in a fashion parlance, and I know you have that background too. But for me, if I like something in an M&S, that time M&S was good for me. And if I like a white, I'll buy a pink, a yellow, and a green, and a black. Fit आना चाहिए, and you go for that. Which is a complete fashion blunder today, But however, I remember standing at an M&S, Raghav, and saying, यार ये 328 रुपए की एक येलो ले लेते हैं, बिकॉज येलो अब कबर्ड में ख़राब हो गई है. शॉपिंग थोड़ी कम करते हैं, बिकॉज 2.5 years, 3 years I'd burnt money, and we weren't obviously taking salary. So that is humbling. So I think when I came back to corporate,
थोड़ा grateful भी थी.
So I think I now think, क्यों इतना ड्रामा है कॉर्पोरेट में? These are the easiest jobs to do. Good or bad, with due respect to corporate, you're not learning anything new.
Right.
You're not solving world problems. At least you alone are not solving. It's an integrated whole जो बाद में बनता है. तो आप थोड़ा रिलैक्स करके काम करो, बिकॉज आप वही काम दे रहे हो जो आपको आता है. You are being hired for what you know.
Right.
Now you're dishing out what you know. You're being paid for what you know. How complicated and uncomfortable can that be? So I think I was extremely grateful. And then I went the other end. I'm a little bit of an extremist in a softer parlance. I won't use that word on a podcast, but I'm an extremist. 0 or 1. I stay between those worlds.
Sure.
So I think यही हुआ. I valued the job way too much.
Which job was this?
I came back to, I had few offers, and I came back to Alcatel-Lucent, which was...
sorry to break the flow here. जब आपने डिसाइड किया कंपनी से मैं हट रही हूँ, कंपनी तब भी चल रही थी, you stepped out.
I stepped out.
आपको मतलब जॉब के टाइम पे दोस्तों नेटवर्क में गई आप अपने, कैसे आपने जॉब के लिए कि यू आर अवेलेबल इन द मार्केट, हाउ डिड पीपल नो दैट?
So I have friends, since the space I am in, or I was in, was human resources. So we work very closely with consultants.
Sure.
So I think that's the space I went to. Friends know.
फ्रेंड्स के साथ आप ओपन थी. कई लोग क्या होता है कि अपने फेलियर्स, राइट, स्पेशली इंडस्ट्री के फ्रेंड्स हैं, उनके हमें दिखाना नहीं चाहते. मतलब
वो लोग कैसे होते हैं राघव? कहाँ होते हैं?
नहीं मतलब
मैं तो खुली किताब हूँ, आपके पास पढ़ने का वक्त होना चाहिए. Because for me, there's nothing to hide. And especially when you're an entrepreneur, be very clear, your failures are very public and open. Even if you want to hide, there's no point hiding. First of all, why hide? I think today, आज हम बात कर रहे हैं, be authentic, be vulnerable. I think I kind of breathe that. I'm very comfortable with that.
I can see that.
I am who I am.
Right.
And I am a certain way, and I am not perfect. But you know what? This is who I am. So first, खुद को मान लो, समझ लो, and then the world will fall in place. So I went through consultants to answer it, and I was very comfortable. I had an Indian company offer. I was very clear I don't want to do it. I had a consulting offer. I thought I'd done business now. चलो थोड़ा revenue में kick लेते हैं.
Services.
I did not enjoy. This is a consulting company, in the leadership space. I got the offer, and I probably upset भी थोड़े हो गए थे जब नहीं join किया. But I was like नहीं यार, target sales अभी नहीं. अभी इतना किया 3 साल. I think great offer, take it. I didn't join that time. Alcatel-Lucent, we were looking at more mergers, acquisitions, and I totally liked my boss. He was great leader to work with. Ronald D'Souza, he hired me. And I was like, super, an HR person who breeds business first. And I was like, you have to work with people at the end of the day, profession is. So I joined Alcatel-Lucent, and I thoroughly enjoyed 2.5 years. Again, mergers, acquisitions, we were doing a deal with Airtel, managed services, jaiye baat kariye, onboard kariye. It was a great experience. I enjoyed it. Then I headed talent for 3 companies. Hiring, आज क्या बात है, talent first. I was heading talent acquisition for 3 companies. And as HR, if you can hire talent on board and do, I think you're serving business in the greatest way. So yeah, and then diversity, ek did saal, it was okay. 3 years were good.
Western digital कैसे हुआ? Because that is something which, that was like a step up, right? Like एकदम से आप एक level तक हो, आप जा रहे हो, you are going linear, right? Then you go exponential.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Even if you're wrong, I like it.
So वो कैसे हुआ? And कभी आपको डर लगा कि यार मैंने तो कभी इतना पावर नहीं रखी, इनकी इतनी एक्सपेक्टेशन है, तो क्या थोड़ा बताओ उस बारे में.
So Alcatel-Lucent हो गया, I got married that time.
अच्छा, nice.
And husband was from Bangalore. And then I asked Alcatel-Lucent कि भाई थोड़ा shift कर दीजिए. So I think they were more than happy. I was in an APAC role. So it really didn't matter where you were from. This was 2012, 13. 11. Yeah, मैं शादी की date भूल जाती हूँ. It was 2011. I had to think through. So 2011 got married and husband was based in Bangalore, businessman. So immobile from that sense. And I was happy to move to Bangalore. It's my happy place. North Indian by birth and South Indian by soul. So totally love it. So यहाँ पे आ गए and then Alcatel-Lucent shift कर दिया. Work from home में मज़ा नहीं आया.
तब था work from home.
So I was work from home. I didn't enjoy it because it's APAC, right? Wherever you're seated from, it doesn't matter. And it was work from home, and I didn't enjoy it. I was like, I have to see people, enjoy the action. Right. Flexibility is good, but this is like fun conversation in person. We spoke about it. So that's how SanDisk happened. Western Digital happened not by us wanting it. They just came and acquired us. So it's not like we went seeking for Western Digital. So I joined SanDisk, which is a cool Silicon Valley flash company with Sanjay Mehrotra, who's the now with Micron. He was the CEO worldwide, founder and CEO, doing extremely well. Through consulting again, I think those are my bread and butter flows through them, and they're brilliant people. So I joined SanDisk, headed HR. 200 log the, and they wanted to scale up, really grow. And when I left Western Digital, when we got acquired, it was 4,000 people. Wow. So and it's one of those things that when you join is your job. Do you do only what is in your job, or is your job like a starting? So for me, my job descriptions have never mattered. It's like a starting point. कि आप शुरू यहाँ से कर सकते हैं, खत्म तो आप कहीं और करो.
शुरू आपने HR साइड से ज़्यादा किया था. एंड अगर मतलब फ्रॉम अ कॉर्पोरेट व्यू पॉइंट देखूँ, कंट्री तो थोड़ा टेक पे, थोड़ा टेक्निकल हो गया. तो
So like I said, I've been HR in mostly tech spaces. That's what I've enjoyed, HR for tech. And
आपको टेक समझ आती है?
हाँ, मतलब कोड करें क्या? बस वो नहीं होगा, बाकी सब समझ आता है.
आपको ब्रॉड लेवल स्टीव जॉब्स टाइप की समझ आता है.
Connect the dots, समझ आता है.
वो क्रिटिकल है बहुत.
Because the whole point is, there's a difference whether you're making tech work for business, yes or no.
Right.
Tech is not an end game itself. It's a means to an end. Right. So I think that I understand, which is what my leaders believed I understand, which is why when I was in HR and growing, and we were 700 people, I was already, my boss was, stakeholder that time, was an engineering head. We got acquired. And उनको global engineering का role दे दिया. So he went, and we were 550, 600 India में SanDisk, and now we were getting acquired, Western Digital. And that baby was handed over to me. And I was the acting India head. So pura acquisition of being a SanDisk employee, but working now with the Western Digital hat, and acquiring SanDisk, sorting out the acquisition, going through the due diligence, sorting out, getting people on board and all that. That a year and a half I managed. And then, which was very interesting, was I was always doing more than that. We got partnered with McKinsey and got hard disk drive business to India. So when I was doing all that, I was in a weekly call with my boss there. He was anchoring India. I was in an acting role, and he said, one day, will you take it a full time? And my first question, which even he and I today laugh about it, is Guru Swami Ganesh. I was like, are you mad? And he's like, obviously the answer is no, I'm not. Nobody will say I'm mad. He was like, no, I'm not. You do it full time. I'm like, why would I? I'm an HR person, and I think we just, unfortunately, we think in stereotypes. We bracket ourselves, we close ourselves. And I think I had closed myself. He was like, no, I've seen you, I've observed you, and you're the best person for the job. I was like, wait, I gave some names. I said, what about this, my peer engineering? What about, this person? And I said, no. He doesn't cut for this reason. They were all he's. He doesn't cut for this reason, and he doesn't cut for that reason. And they were very obvious reasons. Right. And I was privy to all those reasons being part of their career growth journey. He said, it's only you. Either you take it or we go external. And we don't want to go external. I thought he was, not very serious. Sorry, Ganesh. I thought he wasn't very serious. Then we have president of the company, Sivaram. I think he's still the president of Western Digital. And then he was also my, a stakeholder. Conversation unse hui, and they said, he's very serious, we'd like to give it to you. And I'm like, okay, it just got double serious. So bas fir ek do mahina I thought about it to say, socha ki am I ready for it?
Seriously?
Yeah.
कोई भी होगा एकदम से, no one will say no to it.
कोई भी आदमी होगा एकदम से लेगा, कोई भी औरत होगी थोड़ा सोचेगी.
ये थोड़ा explain करो, ये controversial बात है, ये आपको बताना पड़ेगा. What do you mean?
So see, I'm a research student, right? My PhD side, but research says men, when they're even less than 50%, 50% ready for a job, less than 50%, they raise their hand easily and they say, job de do. We are ready, we are there.
Right.
Well, I myself, I've been a CEO for a few years, Todd, why don't you give it to me? वो ऐसे बात करते हैं. Women, unless they are 95% and above, probably even 100% ready, they don't raise their hand. So you're talking to a woman who probably didn't raise her hand thinking, I don't cut it. But somebody else thought I cut it 100. So I think थोड़ा खुद को समझाने की ज़रूरत थी. And also the other thing was I ambitious enough? Like आपने बोला ये बहुत exponential था. Was I ready for that? Because honestly, those jobs come with a sacrifice.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be there for at home. I'm not going to be there for my family as much. I recently ran another thing, which we'll talk later. I had Sandhya Vasudevan, who's an CEO, ex-MD Deutsche. She ran a session for us. She's like, pehle soch lo. Do you want to be a CEO? Just because everybody says women should be CEOs and board, it doesn't work for everyone. Because it comes with, it's a trade-off. If you're having tea, you can't have coffee. If you're being a CEO, it comes with certain rights, certain duties, responsibilities. And आप कुछ और नहीं कर पाओगे. You may not be able to show off for some family events.
So tell me one thing, right? जैसे मुझे जो समझ आ रहा है जब mergers होते हैं, the most important thing is cultural synergy, cultural merger, right? वो सबसे मुश्किल होता है. आप HR background से थी. मुझे लगता है आपका sweet spot होगा to get that culture piece merged.
You're a president and CEO. You got that right.
Right. So if I'm not wrong, so
maybe that would have worked. Because at the end of the day, each job is about people. But you must understand technology enough to be able to connect the dots. But there are a few things that are important, Raghav. If I simply say, number one, are you doing more than your job? There are other people who are doing only part of their job. I mean, or fully their job, not part, fully their job. They're not doing more. So if you're doing your job, but you aren't contributing to India GCC growing,
right,
then you don't cut it, right? So are you going above and beyond?
Right.
That's the top 10%. That's key. Are you as much for people as others are? So I'm not saying all HR people should become CEOs, but the point is, do you have it in you?
Right.
The third is, are you willing to talk strategy? That's a huge piece, which a lot of people don't think big. Connecting dots is what? Connecting dots is being able to bring the future into today and kind of see. So I think, are you able to do that? Are you able to partner? And large fourth, I would say, which is very important, is, are you an ecosystem builder? Like if you're a GCC in India, you should be able to collaborate with academia, government, research, other agencies, startup, entrepreneurial system, because where are you going to give back or source in from? So I think it's a collaborative thing. A lot of people don't do that ecosystem building space, which I think in my 5 years I did exceedingly well, is what I got feedback on.
Right.
So I think these are things that kind of positioned me, and exponential because jitna good mein daloge itna meetha hoega. I was on a mission. And also a lot of people thought HR and engineering, tech, product company नहीं कर पाएगी, underdog.
लोगों ने बोला था आपको?
तो हाँ, लोग तो बोलते हैं. पीछे से भी बोला और एक दो ने हिम्मत दिखा के आगे भी बोला.
पर वो जिन्होंने आगे बोला अच्छे
लोग थे.
अच्छे लोग.
हाँ, कुछ लोगों ने चैलेंज करके भी आगे बोला कि देखते हैं आप कब तक करेंगे. कुछ लोगों ने भरपूर पॉलिटिक्स भी किया. मार्गरेट थैचर ने जैसे पूरा टेबल चेंज कर दिया था, हमने थोड़ा तो बदला. तो यहाँ काफी एक दिन बुक आएगी, थ्रिलर, आप पढ़ना.
Definitely. Supria, before we talk about your new initiative, right? आपका जो करियर था अराउंड आई थिंक 20 साल का, जो आपका करीब 21-22 नहीं 25 तो नहीं ना, 98 में स्टार्ट किया आपने. तो 2018-19 तक आपका when were you invested in digital?
Western Digital 2022.
2022? Oh wow. अच्छा, so 24 साल आपका करियर था. गलतियां सब लोग करते हैं. आई एम श्योर आपने भी कुछ की होंगी.
Maybe.
कितनी मतलब मैं जिससे पूछता सब लोग बोलते नहीं बहुत सारी. यू आर द ओनली वन हु सेड मे बी. आई लव इट. सो कुछ एक दो गलतियों के बारे में बताओ.
कॉर्पोरेट लाइफ में? हाँ.
पर्सनल लाइफ भी बता सकते हो इफ यू वांट. दैट्स अप टू यू, बट कॉर्पोरेट इज मोर व्हाट वी आर इंटरेस्टेड.
आई लाइक दैट. दैट्स अप टू यू. आई डोंट माइंड. बट नहीं, कॉर्पोरेट में रहते हैं. Galatiyan. So let's talk about, I think one was, it'll sound philosophical, but it's very true. I was always excellence driven. कि मतलब प्रेजेंटेशन को 10 बार रिवाइज करो, वो बचपन का गीकी नर्डीनेस जाता नहीं है. Almost picture perfect होना चाहिए सब कुछ. That puts a lot of pressure on your team. And when they look around the environment, everybody is giving
चलता है
7, 8 और आप जा रहे हो 10. तो I think you are driven, but are you sure your team is equally driven? Have you done a sense check? तो अपना ambition जब आप बहुत ज़्यादा ambitious हो, and like I said, I was never ambitious, but I'm excellence driven. So I think that check came a little late in my life, and my team gave me feedback कि भाई आप तो दौड़ा रहे हो हमें और हम burn out हो रहे हैं. So I think this is for me a huge learning. कि भाई थोड़ा, and बाद में I took my foot off the accelerator. I wish I had done it sooner. So for me, that's a huge thing. So for people who are team leaders, taking large teams, I think that's a huge thing कि सबको साथ लेके चलो and moderate करो अपना pace अगर वो भागने की मूड में नहीं है आज या कितना भागना चाहते हैं. So I think that knowing each individual and then is very important. So I think that was one career lesson and a learning as a leader. The other is now this one is a tricky how to say it. As women, this one I'll take a little bit of a woman card here. Pehla was leader. Men and women can learn equally from that, or happy to share that. This one is women. As women, we are told we are collaborators. हम घर बनाते हैं, हम सबको इकट्ठा लेके चलते हैं. वो हमारे दिमाग में इतना ड्रिल करके घुसा दिया जाता है कि जब हम ही खड़े होते हैं एज ए लीडर अलोन, फिर भी हमें वो एक आदत हो जाती है कि सबको साथ लेके स्टेज पे जगह दे दो.
समझ गया.
तो I was at IIM Udaipur taking a session and I said that वो मेरी गलती थी. My boss had clearly a difference between him being a leader and then n minus one. When I became a leader, I said मैं तो हूँ, आप सारे leaders हो. Now if those people are good, तो वो आपको भाव देंगे कि आप leader हो. And वो उतना graceful distance रखेंगे. But grace आजकल corporate में
सब में इतनी maturity नहीं होती ना. People are not understanding कि आप क्या सोच रहे हो. उनको लग रहा है कि इसको खुद कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं, इसलिए मेरे को मतलब you know what I mean, that's how they would.
So I don't know उन्होंने कैसे सोचा, but I am extending it out of grace and taking everyone. उन्होंने grace return नहीं करी.
समझ गया.
And second, the fact that they wanted my position. They were all, and by the way, the story goes in Western Digital that nobody was even considered. My peers were not even considered for the job. It was shouted at the rooftop from in every AHM, because when I started facing heat from my peer and politics started happening, my president, my boss, every forum में वो बोलते थे कि she was our only choice. So अगर आपको लग रहा है आप उसके लेवल पर हो तो आप नहीं हो. But वो शायद और दुखा.
कॉर्पोरेट पॉलिटिक्स मुझे लगता है आपका उस पर अच्छा टेक होगा.
बहुत अच्छा टेक.
तो कुछ आप
क्वेश्चन पूछिए, मैं अच्छे से
क्वेश्चन नहीं, मेरे को आप मुझे एडुकेट करो. कॉर्पोरेट पॉलिटिक्स तो होती ही है, तो हाउ डज अ इंडिविजुअल बैलेंस दैट आउट एंड व्हेन शुड वन प्ले इट?
सो आई वुड से दिस इज
कुछ एग्जांपल दे सकते हो विदाउट नेमिंग पीपल?
Oh yeah, I mean, ideally I'd love to name, but I don't want any case coming out of this, so हम बिना नाम के चलेंगे. So the whole point is, politics is जहाँ पे दो लोग होंगे उनका अलग एजेंडा होगा या कॉमन है, but politics is way of life. So for those who say that I am not interested in politics, I don't like it.
झूठ बोलते हैं.
या झूठ बोलते हैं या बेवकूफ़ हैं, नाइव हैं, because अब मेरे को राघव की कुर्सी चाहिए, but राघव is not interested in politics. तो क्या होगा? मुझे अब आप तो मेरी पॉलिटिक्स का हिस्सा बन गए हो ना, क्योंकि मुझे आप वहां बैठना है जहां आप हो.
मुझे भी खेलनी पड़ेगी अब.
तो अगर आप नहीं खेलोगे तो आप तो बिना खेले ही आउट हो गए ना.
राइट.
क्योंकि मैं तो खेल रही हूँ ना.
ट्रू.
आपको पॉलिटिक्स पसंद नहीं, बट मेरी जिंदगी में आप बहुत एक पॉलिटिक मोहरा हो, तो चेस बिछी हुई है, मुझे आपको निकालना है. तो वेदर यू लाइक इट और नॉट, यू आर पार्ट ऑफ समवन्स पॉलिटिक्स. शादी करके आते हो आप, आपकी जिंदगी में मदर इन लॉ उतनी नहीं होती, बट आपने उसका एक बहुत प्रेशियस मोहरा अपना पति बना लिया, तो वो आपकी जिंदगी में आ गए. पॉलिटिक्स तो होना ही होना है, बिकॉज आपने कुछ वो ले लिया जो किसी और को चाहिए. सो आई थिंक दैट इज माई टेक ऑन पॉलिटिक्स. पॉलिटिक्स इज देयर वेदर यू लाइक इट और नॉट. नाउ डू यू वांट टू प्ले इट? इज गुड टू बी अहेड इन दैट रादर देन बी. ऑफेंस इज द बेस्ट डिफेंस, किसी ने ऐसे बोला है. सो आई थिंक दैट्स अ सेकंड. बी एक्टिव इन इट, नॉट फॉर नेगेटिव, बट फॉर वन डिफेंस, एंड सेकंड यूज इट फॉर डूइंग गुड. So I think there is a huge positive aspect to it. Ethical politics. भाई अच्छे से करो. Politics तो हमारा business, हमारी country चला रहा है, दुनिया चला रहा है, nation चला रहा है. So how can politics be bad?
So politics के व्यू पॉइंट से अगर मैं एक ब्रॉड वे में समझूं, अपना आप PR करो इंटरनल, आप जो आपका बॉस है या मैनेजर है उनसे अच्छे तरीके से बात करो. मतलब I'm trying to understand क्या क्या चीज़ें होती हैं.
So क्या करनी चाहिए? सबसे पहले पॉलिटिक्स का एक फंडामेंटल रूल है, which actually हमने बुक भी लिखी थी वाइली में, and नो योर स्टेक होल्डर्स. जब आप नेता बन रहे हो तो आपकी वोट कौन देगा? आप जिस पार्टी में उसके अध्यक्ष. तो ये दो चीज़ें हैं. एंड आई नो यू आर एक्सट्रीमली इंटरेस्टेड इन पॉलिटिक्स, सो प्लीज डोंट आस्क मी क्वेश्चन बियॉन्ड दैट, आई एम नॉट, बट आई एम जस्ट टॉकिंग. मोटा क्या है कि आप पार्टी के अध्यक्ष के साथ बना के रखोगे तो आपको टिकट मिलेगा. आप जनता के साथ बना के रखोगे तो आपको वोट मिलेगा. आप अच्छा काम करोगे तो आप दोबारा इलेक्शन में शायद आ जाओगे या पॉलिटिक्स. तो आपके स्टेक होल्डर्स कौन है? सो इफ योर बॉस इज योर फर्स्ट स्टेक होल्डर. इंदिरा नूई ने भी बड़ी अच्छी बोला था कि देयर आर 3 थिंग्स. आज की जॉब अच्छी करो तो फिर फ्यूचर CEO बन सकते हो. आज की जॉब के साथ आज की जॉब तो आपके मैनेजर के हाथ में भी है और आपके हाथ में भी है. सो आई थिंक नोइंग योर स्टेक होल्डर्स इज नंबर 1. डिफाइन योर स्टेक होल्डर्स एंड प्लीज डोंट डिफाइन देम नैरो. Talent First is a great platform. You're solving problem for India. No, actually you're using India perhaps as a solution to solve a global problem.
Right.
So पूरी दुनिया आपका देश है ना. That's your market. So अगर आप ये define करो कि बैंगलोर है ये, तो don't narrowly define your stakeholders. Broad base करो stakeholder. I think that's the first rule of politics. फिर उनको समझो वो कहाँ है, कौन पॉजिटिव है फॉर यू, कौन नेगेटिव है अगेंस्ट यू, कौन न्यूट्रल जिसको फर्क नहीं पड़ता. नेगेटिव को न्यूट्रलाइज करो, न्यूट्रल को पॉजिटिव करो. थर्ड, इन्फ्लुएंस स्ट्रैटेजी यूज करो. और ये बार बार करो. खाली अभी 5 साल हो गए कुछ किया नहीं और 6 महीने में आपने नाराबाजी करी तो वो नहीं चलती है. कुछ लोग तो वो भी नहीं करते बट वो भी करनी चाहिए. बट एटलीस्ट वंस अ ईयर मिलो अपनी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी से. सो दैट्स वाई वी इन GCC go travel to US, meet stakeholders. And the earlier CEO of Western Digital was my sponsor. So I had brilliant, relationship with him, and I learned a lot. I got mentored, I got sponsored. President of the company, Sevaram, was my sponsor, and of course my boss was my sponsor. So when you have that line of alignment correct, and then you also must realize sink and swim together. अब आपने align तो कर लिया एक ग्रुप को, but वो ग्रुप सिंक कर रहा है तो आप भी तो साथ में जाओगे ना. So then show grace. Because rise में आप इकट्ठे जा रहे हो तो नीचे भी आप इकट्ठे जाओगे. So then don't say कि I want to jump ship. तो फिर jumping में भी problem.
ऐसा कभी हुआ आपके साथ?
My favorite animal is dog, so I'm a loyalist. I would rather go down and sink and swim together than jump ship. I was told in the political world when there was a shake-up happening कि सुप्रिया jump कर जाओ.
अच्छा.
I'm like नहीं.
आम आदमी पार्टी की टाइम की बात है 2013 अन्ना आंदोलन मुझे वही लग रहा है. शेकअप
तो शेकअप होता है. एंड द गुड थिंग इज दे आर वेल विशर्स जिन्होंने बोला कि चलो भाई अब हाथ छोड़ के थोड़ा कमल देख लो. और हम बोला नहीं, हम जो भी देखेंगे झाड़ू घर में इतना देखा राघव बाबा घर के बाहर देखने की इच्छा नहीं है. बट I think it may sound foolish, but at the end of the day I have to come home to what I am and who I am. I am authentic, I like it. And also that sink and swim is one, but also it's a matter of where you're going.
Right.
So when I decided to move on, there were other things I wanted to do, and I'm very comfortable with that decision because it wasn't a one day I woke up on the wrong side of bed and I moved out. It's a well thought out decision. So politics is there in your life, but know your stakeholders and manage them very closely and know what they want from you. Networking, right? It's a very simple thing. It's a give and take.
सो आप एक करियर के अंदर अगर हम नेटवर्किंग का रोल पूछें, हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट वाज नेटवर्किंग फॉर यू? एंड अ गुड पार्ट ऑफ योर करियर वाज नेटवर्किंग विदाउट लिंक्डइन, राइट? अ गुड पार्ट ऑफ योर करियर. So how did you do that?
I love the way you remind me of my age again. No. I love that. I mean, thank you so much.
मैं क्या मतलब
To all the Gen X out there, remember LinkedIn was before our age. First of all, namaskar. Thank you to LinkedIn because LinkedIn आया तो हमने अच्छे से network किया. But I have a very short story to tell. I was a poor networker, and people tell me I'm a brilliant networker now. So I've gone from 0 to 1 on this also. So I think now networking is huge. So पहले हम मिलते थे या फ़ोन पे बात करते थे. WhatsApp, text, smiley नहीं होता था. LinkedIn भी नहीं होता था. Today LinkedIn is good, but I don't think as many people respond to LinkedIn messages, and you don't form close bonds, you just form a large wide network. It's a great dissemination tool, but I don't think people still bond at that.
True.
So
fair enough.
That's a short story.
Fair enough. So now if you had to say one or two good things you did in your career, again आपने mention किया है, but अगर articulate करनी हो कि ये एक या दो चीज़ें थी तो मुझे लगता है मैंने अच्छी की.
I think I aced my role as a country head, Western Digital, and I took to it naturally, like the fish takes to water. One, the expectation was low, but that didn't bother that much. My expectation of me is very high, extremely high. Like I said, I'm excellence driven. So I think that I did very well because I started a data innovation bazaar with Startup India. Deepak Bagla used to head at that time. So I think I enjoyed dealing with him and his team. Invest India, we partnered a lot, and we strategized a visit with the DPIIT department. Ramesh Abhishek was the principal secretary at that time, and there was a delegation of India going to US, and I made sure Western Digital was there, and my then CEO and his entire team, the top management team, was sitting, and there was a dialogue I facilitated between and that time I got to say that, hey, I live life on the cloud, because it was just for that one meeting I traveled to Valley and came back. So I think that was brilliant. We grew from 700 when I took on to 4,000 engineers. I think that was a great story. And the fact that as we grew, the number of women grew along with it. When I joined Sandisk 200, we were barely 5-10 women. When I exited, we were 450 or something. So the fact that we hired more women and we progressed them and developed them as we journeyed along. So I don't believe in growing alone. I believe in taking the entire clan along. So I think these have been good highlights. But broadly, having a work ethic of working, really putting in your effort and keeping a very strong view on strategy. I think at skill level, these are two important things. Do the work for today, but predict the trend where it's going tomorrow and bring that today. So I think strategy has been my strength throughout, which is why I think the transition from a people business to the world of business happened very naturally, which made people uncomfortable, but do I care? No.
So, like, whenever I meet you, right, and जब भी मैंने आपको सुना है, you're always very passionate about the cause of diversity. अब मैं आपसे दो चीज़ें पूछना चाहता हूँ इस बारे में. ये आजकल बड़ा buzzword हो गया for a lot of people to use to, just say it. क्या मतलब इतना important क्यों है आपके हिसाब से? And when did you feel that you need to be a flag bearer of this?
Great question, Raghav, and thanks for asking it. Very straight and plain कि सभी बात कर रहे हैं इसके बारे में. But let's look at data. So I'll answer the second part first. When did it become important? Alcatel-Lucent, I think I was leading this worldwide. Alcatel-Lucent had become part of World Economic Forum Gender Equality Project. And they signed, and Ben Verwaayen, the world CEO at that time, kind of gave it to India. And my boss gave it to me. Aap project lead karo. Now I'm leading a project. And I'm writing a blog that has to be published before the CEO makes a speech at the after a year, the next year summit. कि हमने किया क्या इसमें? So that was you're like leading it from India. I think that was a hugely important position and responsibility. So that got me to know the the depths of what this means, and we uncovered some very uncomfortable and facts which made me realize that as a woman you can only go that far because there's huge bias at workplace. There are microaggressions. There is of course harassment in pockets. So I think I would say I wore the gender lens. अब एक बार आपने gender lens डाल दिया तो फिर तो आप घर में भी अगर पापा ने बोल दिया आप कहाँ इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो, पापा गोवा में, आपके पति का क्या व्यू है, पापा पैसा तो मेरा है तो मेरा व्यू मैटर करेगा, आप पतिदेव का व्यू क्यों मैटर करेगा. तो आप वो जेंडर लेंस घर में बेडरूम, ड्राइंग रूम, डाइनिंग टेबल में फिर सब जगह आता है. सो आई थिंक दैट इज़ हाउ 2007-8 इज़ व्हेन आई grew passionate about it. I think there's no removing it once you get it. So that's one. Now coming to this tokenism बहुत ज़्यादा है. India में 48% are women.
40% of women.
48% of our Indian population is women.
Yes, true.
Corporate में कितने हैं?
15% होंगे.
15%.
18%.
So बाकी 33% women कहाँ हैं? They're working, but within the home, and they're not adding to GDP either. So what are we doing about it? And अगर आप यही education पे चले जाओ, first is born. And वो भी अगर कुछ evils ना हो तो ये 50-50 होगा. There are social evils which also make it 48. It's not natural selection, it's just forced selection. So I think that's 48-52 story. अगर आप education में देख लो, women in STEM, at least the area that I probably am passionate about, 44% or so women are educated. STEM में और भी कम है. Employment in engineering, be it academia, be it entrepreneurship. Women in deep tech, hardly है. So अगर आप data देखो सब जगह, it's a story that is just so sad.
Sure.
That I think some of us need to, and maybe a lot of us need to quit our jobs and work at creating an ecosystem that is much better. And if I would close by answering this, I would say, ये women is not a D&I agenda. किसी ने ये बहुत ही क्या वर्ड है जो पॉडकास्ट में बोल सकते हैं, बहुत ही बेशर्मी का काम किया है women को diversity बोलकर. We are 50-50. तो अगर आप हमको डाइवर्सिटी बोल रहे हो तो आई विल से वन स्टेटमेंट. इसका मतलब आपने सोच लिया कि आदमी काम करेंगे और हम कलर ला रहे हैं, हम डाइवर्सिटी ला रहे हैं. इसका मतलब वर्क प्लेस आपका है. तो आप तो मतलब हम बस आकर डाइवर्सिटी है. अगर वर्क प्लेस इज बैलेंस्ड देन इट्स मेन एंड वुमेन बोथ. नो, तो आई हैव अ फंडामेंटल इशू विद डाइवर्सिटी.
तो क्या बोलना चाहिए?
वुमेन इज टैलेंट फर्स्ट, वुमेन equal. So when you're hiring, hire men and women both. Don't hire them under the garb of diversity. And then don't embarrass them, shame them, insult them by calling them a diversity candidate.
Agreed.
हमने कल को उठ के आपको बोल दिया कि आप डाइवर्सिटी कैंडिडेट, तो आपको कैसे लगेगा? और हमने कोटा में हायर किया, हमने नंबर्स मीट करने के लिए हायर किया।
बोलते हैं लोग ऐसे
बहुत बेशर्मी से और खुलेआम बोलते हैं। लॉट ऑफ वुमेन टेक ऑब्जेक्शन टू इट कि यू नो वी आर देयर बिकॉज ऑफ दिस। और कोई तो बड़े प्यार से भी बोलते हैं आप आ जाइए कॉन्फ्रेंस में, थोड़ा विमेन को रिप्रेजेंट करना है,
ऐसे बोलते हैं।
हाँ, आप थोड़ा मीटिंग में आ जाइए, थोड़ा फैक्टर बढ़ेगा, पता नहीं कौन सा फैक्टर बन रहा है बट एक्स फैक्टर तो नहीं बढ़ रहा, बट कुछ ऐसा ही बढ़ता है, तो फिर आप सुन लेते हो एंड देन यू ऑल्सो रियलाइज as a woman how many battles do you want to fight. So I want to pick the big bold battle.
Sure.
This छोटा मोटा we let them pass, but let them pass doesn't mean कि ये सही है ना, कि आप सोचो कि आपको टोका नहीं तो आप सही हो, तो आप खुद ही रुक जाओ.
So was this the reason why you started Bagel Foundation? Because I've been hearing a lot about it, and a lot of people in this analytics circle have been talking about it. First, tell us why are you starting Bagel Foundation, and then what is Bagel Foundation?
Thanks, Raghav, for giving the platform to talk about it. Really grateful for that. I think we are trying to adjust to a sick society. We are sick. We're not COVID sick, but we are sick in many forms.
Okay.
We are a dystopian world. Moment someone walks in, the moment I say Supria Dhanda, अच्छा आप नॉर्थ से हो, अच्छा फिर तो आप अग्रेसिव हो गए, अच्छा फिर तो यू नो बस, एंड कई तो मेरे प्यार से भी बोल देते हैं वी पिटी योर हस्बैंड हु मैरिड यू, बिकॉज आप तो बहुत बोलते हो, आप तो बहुत डायरेक्ट बोलते हो. तो नहीं, माई हस्बैंड इज़ वेरी हैप्पी विद मी, टोटली इन लव, रॉक सॉलिड मैरिज, यू नो वी आर रॉकिंग इट. तो so the whole point is we are trying to adjust, conform, comply, be in alignment to a society that is not a well-rounded, well-balanced society.
Sure.
और हम उसी में फिट करने जा रहे हैं. हम अगर थोड़ा सा 2 स्टेप्स 10 स्टेप 5 स्टेप पीछे हों तो हम सोचें कि भाई हम अपने बच्चों को सिखाते हैं ऐसा ही होता है, स्कर्ट्स मत पहनो, जो भी कॉन्वर्जेशन है ये मत करो वो मत करो, बट हाउ अबाउट गिविंग द यंगर जनरेशन द ड्रीम कि कुछ भी हो सकता है इन टर्म्स ऑफ लेट्स क्रिएट अ बेटर सोसाइटी. यूटोपिया हम हंसते हैं, हम क्या बोलते हैं, अरे सुप्रिया आप यूटोपियन वर्ल्ड में रहते हो. नहीं जी, हम यूटोपियन वर्ल्ड क्रिएट करना चाहते हैं. सो व्हाट आई वांट टू डू इज स्टार्ट अ मूवमेंट creating a utopian world society which is balanced, which means I won't be judged for my color of my skin, geography, मैं कहाँ से हूँ, my gender, and definitely not generation. Look at you, you're 100 times more brilliant than I am. So why should you be always told कि बड़ों से पूछो, बड़ों से करो? You are showing grace, that's great, but you generations are, you know, leading it. You're teaching us how to do. The conversation we had before this podcast, I was taking notes when you were talking. And I want to say that on podcast, I was taking notes because you have such fantastic ideas about how even BAGGGEL, you know, foundation should go and position itself. I value those ideas. I value the contribution. And you know, we are like, I'm more than twice your age. So that's where it is. So why even say that बच्चों को कुछ नहीं पता? Teachers भी बोलते हैं हमारे स्कूल में बच्चों को कुछ नहीं पता. कितना बोलते हो? और parents भी बोलते हैं. So your dad doesn't say that, which I think he's blessed and you're great. That's it. So the foundation is about creating a society, and the mission is very clear. I understand gender, Raghav, very well right now. I will understand hopefully other.
But this gender you are saying as a binary concept. Okay, this.
So gender, in gender, I'm saying I understand women, but I'm sure more people will join and give it more shape and all that. But right now I understand women, and I'm saying I want to start at the top. My mission is very simple: create more women CEOs who are future leaders of a balanced world. Let's create more women CEOs. Let's balance at the top. These women as a collective will create more women managers. Those women managers will create far more women in workforce and make them economically independent. We have almost 25-30% women who are educated but not employed. So ultimately we'll fill that gap, but we will start from the top.
कैसे करने का सोच रहे हो आप?
So I've just launched a senior women network, and I'm not calling it women because I would love to have great men join it too. So we are calling it the Leaders Network as an important part of BAGGGEL Foundation. And we are saying these leaders, they're already 40 exclusive members. We are keeping it senior because with that comes power and influence. Sure. Because that's the critical thing. Otherwise, there's no reason to keep it senior. But these are 40 women now, and we probably will close at 50 our first batch. We're coming together annually. We will meet up. Networking is critical part. Women don't network, so I'm trying to plug that gap. And then we'll launch a program which we will curate, which is creating women CEOs, being CEO ready. So these are 2 interventions I'm planning this year and next, which is getting women to network at senior level, grow by giving. When we network, we look after each other's careers, we support, We probably set a new narrative. We discuss and debate narratives that women dress code. It's such a simple thing, but there's so much of expectation.
Yep.
And one woman even said that I'm in sales, and when I was wearing a certain dress and I went in closed, the guy made a comment, and this is the urban India and the urban world we are talking about. He said, "Is dress mein to koi bhi aapko order de dega."
Wow.
And
People talk like that.
Unfortunately, sadly, and then such a beautiful thing happened. Then she took it in, which didn't feel good. But here is how she gave it back, and then she went back. And when the next time the deal was getting discussed, and he was going and positioning it with a client, she bought a gift for him and said, "आप ये पहन के जाओ, शायद आपको भी order मिल जाएगा." So microaggression, but how she dealt with it. But should someone be told that? So we're also thinking that we as senior women will debate narratives which are old, which don't hold good. Like our favorite Sheryl Sandberg says, you can't have it all. But I, as Supria Dhanda, founder of BAGGGEL Foundation, say you can have it all. Maybe at different points of time, but career is not built in a day. Over a 25-30 year career, you can have it all. You can have a great family, you can have kids, and you can be a CEO, and you can be on the board. You just have to plan it a little more, and you have to network and ask for help and get your support group going. You can have it all.
I think what you're saying is very powerful, because why should you limit yourself? There is no limit.
Why should you?
So now, what kind of people are you thinking can be a part of this? So let's say someone is looking at this. What should their ideal profile be that they can be a part of this?
So great question again. So I think first is I would like to say, like always they say, begin with the grace first. So on this, I think I'd like to credit a few people who really helped in this journey, because as BAGGGEL we've done well. We've launched the network and is doing very well, the Leaders Network. Pankaj Rai, who is the Group Chief Data Analytics for the Aditya Birla Group. Great. I mean, he's a natural networker. I call him human LinkedIn. Sameer Dhanarani, who runs the 3AI and AI Curate. I mean, they are great. They were running this group, WhatsApp group. So technology does help, bring it together. I don't know in the earlier days, when we were born, how we would have done it. Absence of WhatsApp. So they are there, Sarah with City, she's great, Iqbal, Arun Pai or Bangalore Walks. So these are all people who just came together and helped and kind of put the thing together, and I think that's brilliant. I think that's one. People we are looking at, Raghav, to be part of BAGGGEL Foundation or the Leaders Network is someone, like I said, an entrepreneurial CEO. Why not? You're 7-8 years, but you've done well and you're a CEO, why not?
Age
or you're a founder. Age is not a criteria. You got to believe, if you're in corporate, maybe age plays a role, because the seniority, power, responsibility comes with that. But if you're in the entrepreneurial space, I mean, look at you here, right? You're a natural member of the club, because, this is what you do for a living. Right. Social cause, marrying business, and kind of, solving a problem for the world. This is what we are looking at. So if you have it in you, we'd like you to come aboard, become a part of the Leaders Network and help us change the world and create a utopian society.
Perfect. And there are a lot of people, right, who are who want to be leaders fast, who have it in them, don't want to have a corporate route, right? Now they have some ideas. They are, they don't want to go to an investor right now. And if I'm not wrong, you were telling me about something on those lines, that shape and form you're still deciding how to do it. But you're thinking on those lines, right? You will want to put money in those young people or experienced people who have it in them, right?
Absolutely.
So the entrepreneurship ke baare mein kya thought hai aapki? And how will you support them?
Great question, Raghav. Like I said, we're looking at the Leaders Network. The whole idea of my journey is to work with leaders. Through them, create a balanced world and create a great society. That is the not-for-profit side. I probably forgot, but Foundation says it all. It's a Section 8 compliance company. But I want to be on the cutting edge of the business. I want to stay sharp, be in tune, be in sync with the business. Right. And also facilitate more entrepreneurs. I think once you're an entrepreneur, you're always an entrepreneur. So there is a part of for-profit venture that I'm working at. It will have few partners on board too. What we're looking at is create a platform wherein on the supply side we are looking at more entrepreneurial people who have idea, and they necessarily 0 to 1 stage don't perhaps know how to put it all together. But it'll be AI ML focused technology. So do I understand? Yeah, I do. Can I do it? No, but do I understand and help connect the dots? Yes. So if you have a great idea and you're in the AI ML space, and you're thinking, how do I put it together? How do I get the first proof of concept? How do I even get the platform going? And then for how do I be investor ready, and probably perhaps have my first customer, rake in a little bit of revenue. So I think that 0 to 1 journey, starting to getting your first customer on board, is something that we are looking at creating a platform and getting those dreams to see the life and making those dreams turn into reality. And in that part, a significant part of that has to be talent first. Of course, the meritocracy prevails, but also we would love it, creating more women entrepreneurs. If you look at the data, 2% of the world's funding goes to women entrepreneurs.
That's it.
Global Entrepreneurship Monitor data in my part-time, right? There's a PhD going, and only 2%, and 98% goes to men. And mixed teams, let's say you and I decide to partner, that'll be purely my fortune. My chances of raising money go up by 7% more, so that's 9%. So mixed teams get 9%. And a good 91% is still all men.
Wow.
So if we can bubble up women entrepreneurs in technology, we also solve 2 problems. Women entrepreneurs, one, we also solve women in deep tech. So that's pretty much the idea of creating a platform and staying on the venture side and creating a fund and funding.
So if there's a woman who's working in an existing tech company, she has an idea, doesn't know how to start a business, but has a good idea basis of good tech backing, will you back her?
Absolutely.
So she can get in touch with you on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. So if she's watching your podcast,
Yes.
I would say please find a way to reach out. LinkedIn is a great way. It works even in our generation. Reach out, drop a text, and we'll be happy to engage right from ideation to getting your first customer on board. And we'll journey with you. We just have to see potential. It's for business. It's for profit.
Sure.
So we'll help you journey. And if you think the idea is that great and it merits our platform to get you on board, yes. But our first thing is yes. We will evaluate as we proceed along.
Perfect. I think, Supria, this was very, very helpful. I learned a lot in this very interesting conversation. Thank you for being so honest, so blunt, speaking from your heart. This one last question, and I have it as a personal question. What would your advice be to a 23-year-old, including me, who's watching this? आपने बहुत कुछ लाइफ में देखा है अपनी. Generic one advice जो आप देना चाहोगे.
One is network early on. I think I wish I had built that network early on. I've done it well, and I think starting late has its value also. It gets built very easily.
Sure.
Because people want to be with you. But I think start networking early. Second, take risks. डर के जिंदगी मत जियो.
बड़ा खेलो.
It's like, don't have, क्या बोलते हैं, have a big life, king size, or I would say live a life, queen size. But थोड़ा बड़ा खेलो, take big risks, and क्या होगा? Fail हो जाओगे, but सीखोगे बहुत कुछ. So, and if you have it in you to be an entrepreneur, third advice, to play it, become you, become Raghav. To all the younger generation out there, I think you're a great model, Raghav. So I can simplify it all in saying that, like I told you, you'll be a lovely role model for my 15-year-old nephew who's really my life. But they should look at you.
No.
Seriously. And this is coming from the heart too. If I'm genuine 99.9%, I'll be genuine in the last 0.012. Become Raghav, be inspired, solve big problems. And you know what, don't shy of hard work.
Right.
It takes many long cuts to figure out which is a shortcut. So smart work, but don't be shy of putting in the hours.
Perfect. And now this was generic about talent. Now one specific to any female that is watching this who's 22, 23. That was for both. Now one specific to what a young girl should learn from you.
Economic independence, Raghav. It's extremely important to be economic independent. Women give up careers at many spaces. First of all, they get married and they follow. I am not saying don't have a life. I have my husband and I totally love him. But these are very negotiate, discuss, bring them into your decision making. But don't be the first one to say quit. Second, when you're mid-career and you're having kids, again, natural to quit. Please don't. Stay in the game. Flexibility is there, go slow, but just don't quit. Then return becomes very difficult. And to senior, power on. So I think fundamentally one message, always to the extent possible, be economically independent. If possible, well, become an entrepreneur.
Perfect. So I think this was very, very helpful, Supria, and I really appreciate you taking your time out. I know you're very busy right now launching your BAGGGEL Foundation. Looking forward to seeing a lot of things from that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure, Raghav. Thank you so much. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you so
wish
much.
you all the best.
Thank you.